Hello and welcome to the Reef Talk Extra channel, and today I'm going to be unboxing the Gen 2 Red Sea ReefLED. This is the new-ish light from Red Sea. I have the 115 version, which is the medium version, and it's roughly equivalent to a Radeon XR15. So in this video I'm going to unbox it, show you everything you get inside, tell you a little bit about it, and then I'll set it up over the K-tank behind me so you can see how it looks. Before we get into that though, there is of course the usual disclosure. Red Sea sent me this light for free and I get to keep it after I made the video. They don't get any input into the video, they don't get to see it before you do, and of course I'm always free to say whatever I want, both good and bad. Alright, with all that being said then, let's get to the box. Alright, so we're going to start by opening the box then, and I will tell you a little bit about what it says on the box because it does highlight some of the changes they've made. First things first, you can see here that there are various different mounting options. There's a pendant, there's the mounting arm that I've got. Red Sea have also sent me, by the way, the mounting arm for this unit and the lighting visor to take away some of the glare. So you've got, what other options have you got for mounting? A hanging kit as well, and the mounting arm, as well as the pendant. The pendant I have over my main tank, and I'll be mounting this over the K tank with the mounting arm, but when I do set it up properly to test it, I'll be putting it in my Red Sea pendant. The other things on the box that are worth talking about are the spectrum. So firstly, this is a broader spectrum than last time. This light is still a relatively narrow spectrum compared to, say, Ecotech Radeons or Kessels or whatever, but the Gen 2 Red Sea light is a wider spectrum than the Gen 1 was. And the other thing that is on the box is the other major update to this light, which is really the app, and it has a few really cool features that I'm really looking forward to checking out. The first thing that's in the box then is the warranty card, and actually I am going to quickly scan this just to show you what page it takes you to. So if you scan the QR code, it then takes you to a page, and it should have the manual and a few videos as well. Yeah, there we go. So it's got the manual. And manuals you can download in various different languages, videos as well. Let's see what videos it's got. So it's got the Red Sea videos that show you how, that basically tells you a bit about it, how to connect it to the app, the role of lighting in a reef aquarium, why they call this reef safe lighting, and a few other videos as well. So to be fair, some useful little tips and hints on there, and I have read the manual already. There is some useful stuff in there. It is worth reading, but let's face it, no one ever reads manuals, so we're going to move on. And then into the box, and it's a fairly simple unboxing process because we have the power brick, which is a GVE power brick. Now these are not the premium ones that you get from the likes of Delta and Meanwell, but I have loads of these and I've never had any issues with them failing, so I think it's a good enough brand. But it is worth noting that it's not the premium one that you get with the likes of Kessel. There's also a kettle 3-pin plug to kettle fit that goes into the back of the power supply. Actually, one thing that's worth noting, I don't have the dimensions on this, but Red Sea always do really long cables, which is really useful, and they do a long cable from the light to the box, to the power supply, to the power brick, and also from the power brick to the wall. So they do recognise that some people are going to have power supply sockets away from their main light, and it's really handy to have a bit of extra length in the cable. Apart from that, all we have is the light itself. Now the light itself, it has a slightly different design to the Gen 1. It's just got kind of rounded edges. It just it does look a bit nicer, to be fair. I don't know if it's slightly smaller, it looks a little bit smaller to me, but basically it's just a marginally nicer design, but generally pretty much the same all round, with this kind of dome style LED unit at the bottom and then the fans at the top. It's all plastic build. So most of this is plastic. I say it's all plastic. Most of it is plastic, but there is an aluminium heatsink built into this that is attached to the LED unit itself. But with some lights you get a full-on body that is all aluminium that acts as a heatsink. That's not the case with this, and it does have a fan as well. In my experience, the fans are, I think they're silent, they don't come on at all, but they're about 25%. But then after 25%, and this is on the 160, the bigger version of this, after 25%, they do start to make a little bit of noise, which can be a bit annoying. But if it's on a tank that already makes some noise, which most tanks do, you probably won't notice it. That's it then for the light itself. Now let's have a look at the other things. So I will open the visor briefly, and in fact I'll show you how the visor looks when it's clipped into place on the light itself. And to clip it in, all you need to do is line up the right way, push it together, there you go, and now it's clipped. So it's a mechanical grip, not magnets or anything like that, and then it comes off as well like that. I'm not going to use this, I don't think. I've had the 160s over my main tank for just over a year now, year and a half, something like that, and I sit with an angle so the lights are pointing right at my eyes, but because the LED itself is already sunk into the light itself, I don't ever notice any glare even without the visor on. So I won't be using the visor, but it's only 15 quid, so it's not too badly priced. The other thing to show you, of course, is the mounting arm. And the mounting arm is actually a really good part of this system. It's a really clever design. All right, so it comes in two parts for the main arm itself. Which way around does this go? It goes that way around. So there's your main bracket that goes down the back, and then this grips onto the tank with a little clamp here, and then there's the top bracket along the top. It's not height adjustable, so you can't have it up or down. You have to have it at a set height, which should be about 8 inches off the water. And the reason Red Sea do that is because that's the distance that this light is supposed to be off the water, so you can't mess it up and have it too high or too low. I personally like to have my lights really quite high up. I like the really broad spread, better blended spectrum, and easier access to a tank. But it's nice to know that you won't be able to get the height wrong on this. In terms of span though, it is adjustable. So my tank is just over 50 centimeters front to back, which means I'm going to need to extend that a little bit. Probably not all the way out because the light goes right on the very end of that and it'll go on the end like that. But it's span adjustable, so even if your tank is sort of 2 feet wide or so, that will be totally fine. If your tank is much wider than 2 feet, and I don't know the exact dimensions, you might want to look at other mounting options. But you can also angle this, which I'll show you when I get the light set up. It's probably quickly worth talking about price actually. So I've done a price comparison with the Radion XR15, which is probably its main competitor, and I've bundled everything together to give you a full price, because the light itself is never the only thing you need to buy, and almost everybody will need a mounting arm. So I've bundled it all together. Let's do the comparison. The light then itself in the UK is £419, whereas a Radion is £465, so 45 quid more. The mounting arm for the Red Sea is £91. Why they don't just round it down to 90, I don't know. The mounting arm is £91, and the Ecotech mounting arm is £101, so another 10 quid. The visor, if you want the visor, which I don't think is necessary, the visor is £16 for the Red Sea one, and you can get various 3D printed options for the Ecotech one. They're about £15, so roughly the same price. Or you can get a diffuser for the Ecotech, which is £33, and there's no diffuser option for the Red Sea light. So if you bundle all that together, basically the light and the mounting arm is £510 with the Red Sea, and the light and mounting arm for the Radion is £566. So the Red Sea light is about 50 quid cheaper than the Radion, which to be fair is nice to have, but not a significant difference in the grand scheme of things when it comes to the prices of a reef tank. Okay, I think that's everything out of the box. So now I'm going to set it up over the tank and just show you how it looks. Alright, so as you can see, I've built the mounting arm, didn't take very long, and now I need to put it in place over the tank. So which way around does that go? That goes to the back. So this clips over the edge like that there. This slides into that, and then you just adjust the screws. In fact, I can do that the other way around. I can do the screws first. So you've got two little thumb screws that go in the back here. And you just tighten them so it will grip onto your tank. Now actually, in an ideal world, I would have this right at the back of the tank. I've got it just on the edge of the weir box. If I was setting this tank up properly, I'd move the tank just away from the wall, because there is a gap. You need about just under an inch gap from behind your tank for this the light to fit against your wall, because the back of the mount sticks out a little bit. In fact, it's probably the furthest bit out is the thumb screw, so it's probably just under 2 inches, inch and a half, something like that. That's how much gap you need behind the tank to install this if you want it to sit against the wall. Right, there we go, that's it basically. There's a couple of little cable management bits around here. So there's a cable management hole that goes up here, and I mentioned that it's also adjustable, so you can tilt it back and forwards, which means so even if you want to be really paranoid about glare, you can tilt it forward so it tilts away from you so the light really won't glare, or you can tilt it up a little bit, just it goes up a tiny bit. I'm going to have it dead straight, and once you've got it where you want it, you just tighten the screw at the top. How tight does that need to be? Relatively tight, and then that is it basically. You're done. You can move it back and forwards. I've I've locked it in place with the cable annoyingly. So there we go. Actually, now I can feed that through there. So I feed that through there, and then I can have, that is actually where I will have this light on this, but you can have it so it sticks out a little bit further. Let's pull that through and see that. How far out does that go? Quite a long way, to be fair. And then there are these little caps here that cover screws, and you can tighten that in, and then it will be locked in place wherever you want it to go on the span distance. In fact, I'm just going to measure that and see how far out it goes. So from the front of the mount to the center of the LED, it's about 13 inches or 33 centimeters maximum. So that's bang in the middle of the light, and the minimum span is, push that back, again measuring from the front of the mount, which isn't quite upright in fact, but more or less. That is now 10 inches or 25 centimeters. So a reasonable amount of span, and as you can see, there you go. It does give you a few options if you've got a bigger tank. All right, now that's the light set up, I'm going to plug it in and just show you very quickly how it looks. And there you go, the light is now on. Now I've already set this up previously on the app, so I can't show you the app install process, but it's really easy, especially if you've already got an account. It takes no time at all. For reference, let me just pan the camera back. For reference then, this is how it looks on the 15,000K spectrum. And let me see if I can change that to show you when it looks a bit whiter and a bit bluer. That is it on its 23,000K spectrum, which I think is the bluest it goes. So this is probably looking pretty blue, yeah. Looks like a Smurf at the moment. Hard to tell without any cars in, but actually I can see on the camera how blue it looks. And there we go, back on the whitest light setting. And in fact, I think it's just updating it now. That is pretty white, to be fair. It looks nice and white on the camera, a little bit blown out. Camera doesn't really like this, so there is obviously a reasonable amount of blue in there, but that's it. In terms of settings, there aren't many. There's some very basic presets, and that's a good thing. You just want it to be plug and play, turn it on, and then you don't have to worry about messing around with the lights. In fact, it's just changing something. Let me just pause and see how this goes. All right, there we go. It's now set back to its blue setting, and that is called RL115 Shallow Reef. So there's, how many settings are there on here? 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 templates with this as standard. Actually, I don't know if you can hear the fan. You definitely can hear it, but it's not too bad. Anyway, there are 4 presets that you can just turn on and get it going straight away. And kind of the beauty of this is that you can just turn it on and it'll work. It's not going to blast your corals. That's the theory behind the Red Sea settings anyway. But there's also a custom program if you want to mess around with it, make the color look the way you want it to, change the time it starts, change the intensity during different points of the day, all those sorts of things. And that is almost certainly something I will be doing. All right, for now, I think that's everything I'm going to show you. I'll just give you one last look at the mounting arm. You can see it's nice and neat. I've now got the cable out of the way, nice and tucked in there. It does stick out the back there. I'd probably put a cable tie on that. But the mounting arm is a really nice touch, actually, a really good system, really good setup. The light itself looks nice, but it remains to be seen how it actually performs. So make sure you like and subscribe to this channel and to the main channel, and I'll do a full-on review on the main channel, probably in a month or so's time, when I've had a bit of time to get used to it. If you've got any questions in the meantime, or if I've missed anything, let me know in the comment section below. And until next time, happy reefing.